gentlemen, here we are with another excerpt of the Scouser and the Scot.
So, this guy looks familiar, but I wasn't interviewing him last time. How the hell are you doing, Matt?
That's why I've come back. It was just to see you, Ian. It was just to see you. That's the only reason I'm here. I felt shortchanged on my first interview.
Well, you only got 50% of the interview, so I totally agree with you.
It's not good enough, is it?
It isn't, mate. It isn't. But today, we're going to do something different. As always, we normally ask 10 questions. We ask them how it is. But today, seeing Matt's had 10 questions already, we thought, let's just have a chat. Let's get to the real nitty-gritty and, let's see what happens. So,
Well, we've already had an extensive chat off camera, haven't we? So we've ruined it already.
And I forgot to switch the camera on.
So, let's start off with, obviously, Matt, how are you keeping, mate? Because I missed the one we released earlier in the year and stuff like that. And I think we might have lost him. Are you back? No, you're back. Yeah. How are you keeping anyway, mate?
I'm back. I'm doing good. I'm about to move house. That's why I'm so white behind here. There's usually it looks like a teenager's room. There's usually posters everywhere of Geddy Lee and Queen and everything I like, but it's just a blank canvas now and it makes me feel sad. But I've got to move house. So old stressful thing.
So we'll start with that then. That's a pretty cool conversation. Obviously, you're moving house. You're moving into a different place and stuff like that. How long will it take you to set up your studio? How long will it be before it gets up and running again?
I'll make sure it's the first day. I'll probably make sure I've got at least the basic setup so I can just because we're actually in the middle of. I say we're in the middle. We're always in the middle of doing another album, but we're in the middle of tracking a double album at the moment. 60% of the way through at the moment, and then we're going to send it off to be mixed. So I want to be up and running as soon as possible so I can get back to work on that and start running through the sessions and having a look at things. So as soon as possible, I think the first thing that will get unpacked is, the desk and the speakers and the computer and straight online. The rest of the bollocks can wait.
So basically, if it takes you let's say it takes you 6 hours to set it up, that's one less album about this year for Twisted Illusion.
No, bastards. Exactly. Yeah, time is albums.
Can we just talk about that actually? Because I've mentioned you quite a few times in various different other interviews that Ian and I have done, and on podcasts that I've done about.
Very flattered, by the way, by that. Thank you.
Listen, mate, you know I'm a big fan of the music and all that, but the reason why we wanted you in the first place was because you are very, very different to most musicians, and and you get the business side of it. It is a freaking business. It's not just an ego thing. It is actually a business.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a lot of why I switched on to you. In fact, I knew more about you before without ever having listened to any of your music originally. It was there. I think the first time
Jonesy, the twat.
I think the first time I heard you was on Down the Front Media, the podcast, because I used to love that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. I wish those guys were still continuing. And I loved that podcast. It was great. They're so good.
They were one of the reasons why I started doing a radio show, was because I used to love that Friday morning when they were on, and I used to wait for it. It was like brilliant. It wasn't Friday anymore. It was Down the Front.
Yeah, they were awesome. Naomi and David, they're wonderful people as well.
Yeah,
they really are.
Yeah. So since I last spoke to you, which was about 6 months ago, what's been happening in T.I. Land? That's Twisted Illusion, in case anybody doesn't know who he is. But
yeah. So since then, I think I've done. So I've been doing a monthly album since September. Sometimes we've done 2, sometimes we've done 3. Think of 2 of the months. We've done a lot of albums since September monthly. Since January, what will I have done? So we did January, February, March, April. We've done this month's release. So yeah, we've done 5 albums since then. We've released 6 singles from our debut album, and that's going to be released on the 28th of May. And then we're releasing our trilogy later this year, and we released a book, we've released bootlegs, we've released all sorts of behind the scenes content as well. A DVD we did a bootleg DVD recently. All sorts, just keeping the train rolling really. And you know, like I talked about last time, the whole making sure there's something to sell all the time is the kind of main thing for me. And I get accused of kind of devaluing it sometimes if you say that, you know, it's like, oh, well, you're just always trying to sell yourself. And it's like, yeah, what are you trying to do? Obviously, that's what I'm here to do. Like when people like accuse musicians of being attention seekers, it's like, no shit.
Yeah.
It's literally what I live for. I am an attention seeker. Well done. You know, but yeah, just keeping the train rolling, like I say, I'm making sure there's always something new for people to latch onto with Twisted Illusion, and it's growing in such a great way, really organically, and I'm really happy with, like, since we last spoke, even, like, I feel like everything's just kind of gone in this kind of vertical slope. Everything just seems to be just going and going and going, and all sorts of press and stuff, and classic rock kind of latched onto us a bit with the
cool. Yeah, sort of
track of the week thing. We won that poll and all that stuff. So, you know, it's
Wait,
cool,
man.
man.
Matt. Sorry, mate, I've got to butt in. John, do you hear that, mate? We are taking credit for this.
Yeah.
As soon as you had that interview, boom, it just went. Everyone wanted to be a part of it.
It all started
on Scouser and Scot. You heard it first.
And the other thing is, people that wouldn't talk to him before started talking to him again because he actually came across as human.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Matt, obviously, I know you've been busy, and let's open it up a little bit and go into a little bit more, because I'm really interested. Obviously, you write shitloads of music, mate, and it's quality stuff as well. Do you ever get the praise where you have, like, you know, writer's block and stuff like that, or you write something, you go, it's not right yet, and you shelve it and you come back to it and stuff like that?
Yeah, but it's a really quick process. I don't procrastinate when it comes to songwriting. I don't really get writer's block. It's rare I ever kind of overthink an idea or sit on a song for too long. I have done that, don't get me wrong. I have had songs that have took me 6 months to complete, but then I've done another 100 songs in that meantime or whatever, and it's just done with, and then I eventually finish it. But I've just never, like, overthought the songwriting process. Really, it's just it's a natural thing for me to just sit down with a guitar and write. That feels natural, and writing songs is just kind of the filtering process is what gets me there, is getting the shit songs out, rather than latching onto ideas that you're not comfortable with. If you know they're not good, complete them anyway, and just kind of get them out of your system. Write shit songs. Don't feel like, oh, there's a shit idea, I can't get past it, I need to make it good, because that's it. That's done. It's a dead idea, but get it done and get it out. And that filtering process is what will take you to, you know, the third, fourth, fifth, and then you'll get to the 7th song, and that one will be a fucking gem. But if you stick on that 2nd song where you're like, I can't quite get past it, and you spend months on it, and then it's like, you never got to that gem of a song that you might have just got to if you'd have just kind of filtered the process. And that's how I kind of see songwriting. It's just, you know, a big sieve of bullshit.
Yeah, I know.
You mean, Matt, that you just, even if you think it's not a great song, you still release it? Is that what you meant?
Well, that's what the Bandcamp thing has kind of allowed me to do. And what the one skill I think I have that I will be self-adulating about is I think I'm really objective about my own output. I think I'm really critical about myself and know when I've done a really good song, know when I've done a really, not a bad song, but that isn't as strong. I think I'm really good at recognizing that. So I'm pretty hard on myself, but the Bandcamp thing has allowed me to kind of, because I have this, like, I think I've discussed it before, I have this A and B release kind of thing where I have the proper industry official release, and then the Bandcamp releases are kind of these B releases where I can just put anything out I want and there's no consequence to it. And it's just, people have to buy it. So it's like, that, you know, you're buying into something and it's like, you buy that, it's fine, it's up to you. You don't have to follow this journey because it's not going to be available for free. So people have to buy into it in the first place. So it's like, there's some level of people knowing what they're going to get as well, because I'm very upfront about the process of it. And yeah, it's allowed me to be way more free in terms of what kind of songs I put out. So it's definitely kind of a demo process for me, doing these Bandcamp releases.
I actually like the idea of it though, Matt, to be honest. I like, you know, and the reason why I say that is music's a strange beast. And I mean that. It's like, you know, it doesn't matter what music you're into. If you play something to someone and they don't know who it is, I can guarantee at some point they'll click onto it and go, I like that. That's good. Not my kind of music, but I like it. And then they'll listen to something else and they'll do the same. And it's like you say, it is a learning curve. And a lot of people who watch these are like people who are either learning music, trying to work, like I say, beat the writer's block issues, understand different people's approaches and how they do it. And like you say, and like John's already said, you've already had, like, you know, conversations about these things, and we rate you very highly, mate, as a person, as an individual, and someone who knows the music industry. And people don't grasp it. And the whole point is,
you are right. They kind of,
you've got to throw all those ideas, and like you say, if you throw some mud, it will stick. But you've got to throw that mud first.
Well, the thing is, like I've been accused of it, you know, all the time. People like to throw mud a lot in this wonderful creative space, but you know, I get the argument all the time, and it's completely valid. And maybe it's right, maybe it's not, but it's not my perspective. And you get accused of the whole quality and quantity argument, and it's like, but it's a blanket thing. It's like, if you're prolific, then you know, there's going to be shit in your catalog. And I don't think that we have that. I think everything I have tried to do and like officially release has been of a particularly high standard. And there's this like kind of disconnect that people assume that if you're prolific and you're quick at doing things, then there isn't attention to detail, or there isn't a quality behind it, or there isn't professionalism or something like that. It's like, no, I just work quicker than you. Sorry. You know, it's not like a ego thing.
And I think what I like about TI is you don't really know what's coming with any song, or I don't. And I always get into the expectation that it's got to be brilliant, but I don't really know what it's going to sound like. And I think you're a bit, somebody said, in fact, I don't know if I said it in this week's show, in the radio show, when I played one of your tracks. I think I might have said something along the lines of Twisted Illusion are a bit like the Scottish weather. If you don't like the Scottish weather, just wait 15 minutes because it'll change. And with TI, it's literally your songs. If there's a bit of the song that you're not as keen on, don't fucking bother about it, because you've that many changes in them. It's you're only ever a minute away from something where you're going, Jesus, where's it? And you know, I laugh. One of the things I love about it is when people try to review your stuff and they desperately try to find.
Some of the stuff we've been written about recently, I'm like, what?
Scorpions, that was the best.
Well, that's when you can tell. That's when you can tell the reviewers are only listening to a part of you. That's when you can tell, because they only pick up on one tiny element of it, and then they try and put a blanket thing across you. Like, if you listen to 30 seconds of one of our songs, you might think we sound like Iron Maiden. You could listen to another 30 seconds and think we were trying to sound like Pink Floyd. And it's like, they're two very different fucking bands. And I don't see why you can't have elements of different kind of, you know, classic bands. It's like, you kind of get painted into a corner if you say you one particular genre, because then everyone expects that. And I don't want to be a rock band or a metal band or anything. I just want to create the music that comes naturally.
Do you know what?
That's all I intend to do.
One thing which always pisses me off, and I know, John, you must probably like him. You might agree, but I think Matt will on this one. The fact that you'd have to be pigeonholed. You have to be. You sound like such and such. No, actually, we sound like Twisted Illusion. And that's what you're going to get.
I appreciate that.
No, it is though, mate. It's like, you know, it's like, you know, we've been told that we sound like Alice in Chains, meet Soundgarden, and they sound, some songs sound like this, some songs, and they go, but we can't say what you sound like. And I'm like, well, King Voodoo. That's what we are.
That's a good
Like,
thing.
you know what I mean? And yeah, exactly. And
That's a good
you should be
thing.
celebrating about it, because we've had those bands before. Now we want the next generation of bands to come in and take
Exactly.
that step over.
I think
And
the people that really have to pigeonhole bands most, I would say, are promoters. Now, bearing in mind that I'm a promoter myself as part of what I do, and it's promoters because they want to put you in a pigeonhole to see who you're going to appeal to see who they can put you on with to make sure you sell tickets. And I kind of get some of that, but I couldn't describe you. In fact, I think it's next week's show. I play one of your tracks, and I actually said, you know, I mentioned this about people trying to liken you to certain bands and how wild and widely ranging they are. And I just said, I don't know how did you put them in a genre? I couldn't. I says, I just know it's fucking good music. You know, it's fucking great music. I says,
That's all that matters, and it's that.
It's like I've always said, if you can get someone to sing along to it, if you can get someone to move and enjoy themselves and walk away going, I want to come back and see them. If they want to buy merch from you, you've done
Just
your job.
any emotional reaction, any
Exactly.
kind of reaction to a song, whether it's the lyrical content, whether it's the singable melody, whether it's the musicianship, the production, it can be a myriad of things that introduce different audiences or different people, different kind of mindsets. You don't know what kind of person is coming into your music in what regard. You don't know. And so with that in mind, it's of value to be like a multivaried kind of sound, because then you can reach different emotional states of people. And you know, and we're all different emotionally. You're not happy all the time, you're not sad all the time, you're not, you know, so having that in music gives people an emotional journey to go on as well, which is obviously important. It's like, I don't get bands that can only listen to or people that write music that only listen to metal. You know, the greatest bands of all time are the most eclectic people usually. And that's what creates their originality, because they'll listen to a folk album and pick out something really kind of resonant that will then feed into a thrash song somehow, you know, and then it'll be just this unique thing, and you're like, wow, that's great, why didn't I think of that? That's obvious, that's really obvious. But yeah, I don't know what my point was, but I think I made sense.
I think the thing with you is, Matt, I mean, I've listened to bands on your say so, where I may have put something on social media and you've commented, have you listened to such and such, or you've put a post out and said, so I'll give you an example, First Aid Kit. I had never.
Oh, they're fantastic, man.
And it's nothing like your music.
Yeah.
I would say
they're a massive influence on me. They're a massive influence on my harmonies and.
Yeah, I just said that. Yeah, I was at harmonies and all that. It is, but it's not a genre like, and they're amazing. It was like then the lottery winners. Oh my God, I love them.
I adore those guys. They're amazing. Tom's a friend. He's just, I love him to bits. He's to me, he's one of like the best songwriters of the 21st century for me. Like some of the songs he's written, I've got a big emotional attachment to, and I've followed them for about a decade. Saw them like playing jam nights. And I had jams with them over the years, and it's been really fun because they just get up at these like open mic nights and they just absolutely school everyone. Get up and do these like 3-part perfect harmonies and charisma, you know, coming out of them. And it was just, I knew they were always going to be a popular band, and I'm glad that they're finally starting to see a bit of success.
They're absolutely. I mean, I played them on the route in my show, and I don't tend to play that well. The show's not supposed to be, but I just said that I'm going to play this. It doesn't fit in with any of the genres that I normally play, but I don't give a shit because it's brilliant. And I said the same thing about First Aid Kit, but I think that that's one of the things that helps you and confuses other people, because you listen to such a wide and varying type of music. It must help you, surely.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. It's like, there is definitely like a direct correlation between me only listening to Trivium and Bullet for My Valentine and Green Day as a high school student who just skateboarded and only cared about alternative music or whatever. And I listened to about 5 bands for about 3 years. And then from going to that to then meeting my current girlfriend who her dad put me onto a lot of music. She put me onto a lot of music that I would never have given the time of day. Bands like Steely Dan and Tom Petty and Jeff Buckley was a huge one. John Mayer, all sorts of great bands that, you know, Joni Mitchell was a big one as well. Like, you know, all these kind of mega artists that I kind of would have never given the time of day on my own, that have then just kind of seeped into how I write, because I love it all. It's just, there's great music everywhere, whether it's folk, whether it's jazz, whether it's prog rock or 80s metal. I love it all. It's just, it's got intent behind it, all of it. And that's all that matters, the honesty and the intent behind it, and someone actually trying to convey something to you. That's all I really care about in a song. And I feel as my music taste developed, so did my songwriting. And there is definitely a direct link between that for me. So I'd recommend any band straight away, fuck learning your chops and fuck learning all your scales. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Go and get 5 very different sounding albums and let them envelop you, and just engross yourself in something different, and you will come out of it with something unique, I think.
I'm going to throw this one at you because you've started answering my first question, which I was going to throw towards you then. If we look at your iPod and we look at the 5 most played albums, what would they be?
Recently or just ever?
Recently.
5. Yeah, we'll start with recently and then the most played.
Okay. Recently, what have I actually been playing recently? Well, I'm listening to a lot of Toto at the minute because I've just formed a Toto tribute band. So I'll kind of take that as green and go. So Jacob Collier is a big one for me at the moment. And if you haven't yet been made aware of this, frankly, he's just a genius of the highest order. The guy's won 6 Grammys or something already, and he's only like 25 or something. He's just world class on every single level. He's another one of them. You cannot say what genre he is. He's done everything. He's got like huge, massive soundscapes. He understands music like I have never heard anyone talk about music. Herbie Hancock's like his biggest fan. Steve Vai is his biggest fan. Like he's got this whole host of like celebrity just crazed fans who are just obsessed with him because he is that just ridiculous. I'd recommend checking out his cover of Moon River, which is basically a vocal a cappella, and how he makes it work for 7 minutes of just him singing is just beyond me. The video is absolutely insane as well. And then also check out a song called With the Love of My Heart as well. Check out those 2 songs and check back to me when you've listened to them, because they're just, you won't be able to even say what world they're in. They're just ridiculous, and he's ridiculous. I've been listening to a lot of him. So Dirty Loops are another one, and they're just a crazy, just 3-piece band, ridiculous musicianship, just off the scale, ludicrousness on every instrument. Absurd playing and vocals, and what else have I been playing recently? I had a bit of a nostalgia trip recently. I was going mad on Sum 41 because I loved Sum 41 back in high school. They were a big band for me. Recently, I've been playing the Mason Hill album quite a lot. I really like the new Mason Hill album. I think it's fantastic. It's a really good record. And more recently, what did I have on the other day? I had the new Chris Cornell one, the posthumous release. It's Chris Cornell in it. He's amazing. All sorts, but I think that's probably the top 5: Jacob Collier, Dirty Loops, Mason Hill. I forget. But yeah, all sorts really. Just
so let's
keeping it fresh.
I know you're a bit of a beast on the guitar as well. Like, you know what I mean? I've seen you a few times, and you've got I'd say a lovely tone on it, and you're sustain, like, you know, you can nail it and stuff like that. What's the difference between recording it? How do you get it to record that tone? Do you know what I mean? Because when you're playing live,
well, no, I know exactly what you mean.
You're reliant on a sound engineer.
Yeah.
When you're recording it, how do you transfer it backwards and forwards then, Matt? Do you just use
So it's been very much like it's been like very much a learning curve for me this year. Like, I only started recording from home in March of 2020 last year. So yeah, I've been recording about a year now, doing audio production, and I've been mixing stuff and mainly my own stuff. But it's to record the guitars has been a journey as well, because there's just very like it's the minutiae of things, the EQ, how much that can affect the guitar tone, and the gain levels, how you're routing things, and all the complexities of recording have really become apparent to me. And I definitely understand it a bit better. I know how to get a tone that works for me. Someone else may play through it and really not like it. One thing I have a deceptive kind of, my tone sounds quite high gain, but it's not. It's really low gain. I just attack really hard to get, because I feel it comes out more naturally. I don't like the amp working for me. I prefer to dig in and work myself, and the amp just be there to amplify what I'm doing, which is, I guess that makes more sense for it to do. It's an amplifier. It should be amplifying what you're doing. And a lot of guitarists kind of cloud themselves in effects and whatever, and distortions and a myriad of things to like kind of cover or make up for any skill they may not have. I like to be as kind of bare bones as I can in terms of like how simple the guitar sound is that I have. And I find that works for how I play. My guitarist, Saxon, he's the complete opposite. He's like, he needs a tone kind of just right, and it's a bit more high gain and metally, and he plays that way, and he barely touches the strings. Like, he's a very fluid, delicate player, whereas I'm like attacking a lot more. So it's been a learning process for sure. I don't think I'm there yet. I think I'm on a journey with finding guitar tone. I think every guitarist is anyway.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's like, me personally, it's one of them where you can go 6 months and go, really like that, really like it. Go to a rehearsal and go,
yeah,
you need to change it.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's when you mix it in with other people, you can get a great sound on your own, but it don't mean it's going to work. Like the way we work it with TI when we play live, because we've got a keyboard player now, and we never had that consideration. Now, when you've got keyboards on stage and 2 guitars, you've got to consider the mix. You can't turn up with your tone and expect it to work. So the way we work TI, I have a Telecaster as my main guitar, and it's quite a thin sounding, high end, really in the high mids kind of sounding guitar. And I just sit on top of everyone with a really like kind of thin sounding EQ. And if you heard my guitar on its own at a gig, it would sound like shit. It just sounds really thin and measly. But when we're playing live, I cut through the mix straight away, and you can hear exactly what my guitar is doing, because it's just a part of something. And when you're playing live, you're not there to just be the guitarist. You're there to support the drums, support the bass, whatever. You're all there as a unit. So it should complement everything and not be just, my tone matters. It don't matter. You're not in your own. You're here to blend in.
Is that not quite
exactly?
I mean, I'm no musician,
and that's coming from me. I fired my band.
But the thing is,
that's me preaching about democracy.
Surely that's quite unusual. That because when I've stood, I mean, I was in bands in the 80s, and when I used to just watch the guitarists, sound checking and that, and to me it was, I think they just played what they like, like they got their sound that they liked, and this guitarist got the sound he liked and put it together. So surely that must be quite unusual. That
I think a lot of people do that, and sometimes it works as just like a happy accident. But I think, just like with anything, any part of a band or how you operate or how you function, you should consider the minutiae of it all and the effect it has and why it results in that result. And that's something I've definitely... But the thing is, I started off doing that, just turning up, this is my tone, and then realizing, no, I need to kind of function within the parameters of it. And work with whoever's there. And like I say, having keyboards makes it very different, because you've got to consider that the keyboards and the guitars kind of clash frequency wise. So you've got to kind of compromise if you want the keyboards to sit well, or the keyboards get drowned, or the guitars get drowned by the keyboards. So you have this real battle when the keys are on stage. We definitely like fight to do that live.
Yeah, I can imagine that, because you have to leave space for every instrument, because if you don't leave the space, there's no bloody point in them being there. I mean, exactly. I remember reading Lemmy's.
Exactly.
And he talks about that, because his guitar was set, his bass was set up more like a guitar through a guitar amp, if I remember rightly. And he said that was partly because
that's right, yeah.
So that when the guitarist was doing solos, the song didn't sound as thin as anything. If I remember rightly, because I did.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's the same. It's the same thought process. Yeah, exactly the same thought process.
Do you find it hard when you're trying to explain it to the sound engineer?
I've had some run-ins with sound engineers over the years.
Shock horror.
I won't.
No names.
We're
not asking for names.
Was this twat?
I won't mention a name or a gig, but so there was 2 gigs the same year, and it's probably where 90% of my bad reputation comes from. 2 gigs that happened because I just lost my shit, and I guarantee you, anyone in my situation who was in a band would have done the same thing. So I'll start with the first gig, and. So we got to the gig and we were headlining. It was like this kind of weekend. There was bands on all day on one weekend on the Saturday, and then all day on the Sunday. We were headlining the Sunday, I believe, and got to the end of the night and we're like, cool. There's about 100 people in the room. We started doing our sound check, and we started checking everything. The bass amp was fucked. The DI box was fucked. Everything was fucked. Nothing was working. We started to do one of our songs, and the guitars were mic'd up, and then they were coming back through the monitors as well, the wedges on stage. The guitar signal coming through the monitors was delayed by about a second and had no distortion on it for some reason. It was a clean signal coming back that didn't have the amp sound. So we had the on-stage amp sound going, nah, and then a second later, coming through the monitor, nah. So you try playing a fucking riff when you can hear that, nah, that was my sound check. Just this utter horse shit coming through my ears. So I'm like, hello, can you help? Like, what do we do? Well, there's 100 fucking people watching us trying to sound check. So yeah, this went on for about 20 minutes. We're like, the sound guy didn't know what to do. It was his club. He was the sound guy as well. And he apparently didn't know what to do and just kept coming back and forth from his booth. And then eventually I just lost my shit. I was like, I walked off the stage for a bit and had a bit of a Paddy and a bit of a diva moment. And then someone coaxed me back on stage. And then the crowd started fucking heckling me. So I was like, I'm not having this fucking shit. I'm not being heckled. And then, yeah, then this was all being streamed on YouTube as well, by the way, as well. So to add insult to injury, like my worst moment was being captured on YouTube, streamed to loads of people as well. So I just had this fucking meltdown. And all it was a gig going shit. And I just had a bit of a moment. That was it. End of story. Get on social media the next day. Everyone's going in on me, just, oh, Matt Jones, what a dickhead, oh, what a knobhead, such an arrogant bastard, and he's all diva and all this shit. And I was like, no, there was a problem and no one was fixing it, and I had a tantrum. That's all that happened, nothing more. That's it. Right, anyway, that gig fucked me for a while. I didn't get bookings in a few places after that. And then we got invited down to do a gig. The bill was amazing for this gig. I think it was like Massive Wagon, Stone Broken, Bigfoot, Farhan, Falling Red, all these like bands that have, gone on to do really well. And we were in the middle of the bill. We traveled down. It was, I won't say where it is because you'll probably guess, but it was like 200 miles away from where we were.
I know.
We went to play this like all day. You probably know. I'll tell you off camera, but yeah. We went down to play this all day, and we were booked to play a 40-minute set. We started our first song In the middle of our first song, the sound guy said, "This is your last song." And I was like, hang on, okay, cool. So we got to the end of our song and I was like, all right. And he was like, you got one more song, guys. I was like, no, I've got 40 minutes then, huh? And he was like, oh, we're running behind. And I was like, right, so why is our set getting cut? We'd travelled the furthest. There were bands that were around the corner. There were bands that were much more local. And I was like, why are you now telling us that our set's cut short when we've, travelled all this way? And thankfully we were getting paid, but I was in no mood to travel that far to then not play a gig. So second song goes and I'm like, I'm not having this. I'm not having my set cut short. So I started riling up the crowd and the crowd got on my fucking side and I was like, yes, I've got the upper hand. And the sound guy was like, no, you need to cut it. He tried to cut the sound. So I just started singing. After he'd cut the sound, I was like, put the music back on, put the music back on. And then he put everything back on because the crowd were like booing him and stuff. So I thought, yeah, this is good. This is great. So then he decided to let us play, but then he started sabotaging the sound. He started completely like drowning everything out in reverb, and he turned the bass drum mic off, left the bass amp on, like he just tried to make everything sound fucked so it'd like make us look stupid when we were playing. I think we were doing a cover of like Heaven and Hell at this point. So it just sounded like we were in a washing machine. So I just started, just kicking off and going mad. But the crowd were just on my side the whole way fucking through it. So I just kept getting emboldened by that. So I was having another tantrum moment, but this time people were on my side. So I was like, yeah, see, I am right. I am a dickhead. And everyone was just like, kind of emboldening me to just go further with it. We eventually ended up playing for about 25 minutes and I kind of bowed out and I was like, all right, that's fine. And then the next day, again, everyone was giving me shit. I was like, everyone was on my side at the gig. We were going down well. It was punk rock. It was cool. I was kicking off. And then, yeah. But I think those two occasions are like 99% of the reason I get like, oh yeah, Matt's a dickhead, is just those two gigs, I think. But like, I've never acted that way now, though. That's what annoys me. I've never respond that way now. I'm so much more kind of reserved and just like, okay, whatever, get on with it. But like, when you're in your early 20s and someone's trying to sabotage.
Anybody would judge you on that. It's because they're wanting something to judge you on and they're assholes. But the question I've got is, when they say to you, you've got one more song, why didn't you play your 30-minute long song? That'd be that job done.
I know.
You must have one song that's fucking 27 minutes long or something.
we've got two 32-minute songs.
Well, there you go.
And we've just finished a 33-minute one.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, but they weren't written at the time. We only had like 14 minutes. Wasn't good enough.
So, Matt, obviously, you've got to work your sets out for the venues, the stage times and stuff like that. Do you ever envision yourself being able to play those, like at least two of those songs in a set?
Yeah, well, we tried doing, we did like an evening with Twisted Illusion on our last tour in Manchester in our hometown. So we could do a really extensive set. And we did like a 2.5-hour set. And nice. Number one, it was really fun to do that. And the people that came and followed us really appreciated all the deeper cuts and the kind of story behind all the songs. But when we're playing with other people, it is really difficult for us to marry a set together because we are a long form band. Is kind of how I'd kind of bill us. When we're not a band you can get across in 30 minutes, I think, which may be a negative to some people, but to me that's just like, no, it's like, I don't know, it's like having half a sandwich when you're hungry. It's just not, it's not fulfilling in the right context. So I always try and avoid any support slots unless they are significant, unless they are really good opportunities, or I know it's going to be a busy gig or something like that. If it's just kind of, a local bill, I always try and avoid it. And you get accused of being arrogant because of that. And it's like, no, we've considered that because we don't think we're a good fit for shorter sets. Yeah. Like I like to play at least an hour. I think our set can like really grow and build and crescendo in the right places within an hour. But we could do a 3-4 hour set if we wanted to. That would be fine by me. But trying to find a venue where you can play for 4 hours isn't really a thing at the moment.
When Ian and I interviewed the doctor and Kay Berry Nutter from Ward 16, we had a discussion, and I was saying to them,
I love those guys. They're awesome.
Oh, they're amazing. Yeah, brilliant. And we actually talked about you on that show because I suddenly realised that they have a similar problem to you, but for a different reason. And I said to them, if I was their manager,
I think they do, yeah.
You can only play a venue where you can put on your full show, or else somebody's getting shortchanged, and that's you, that's the fans as well. I kind of feel that way with you as well. That the kind of show you should be.
Well, they're so theatrical though. They need the space. They need the physical space to do a show. So that makes sense. And
time, to really give the full.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so it's kind of the same problem. Yeah, it's we need time. They need space, and it's like, yeah, I understand that, and yeah, you kind of. You shoot yourself in the foot with some of these decisions because you can't play as many gigs because you're making these decisions that kind of paint you into a corner. But I think it's better for the long-term, plan of the career and the longevity of it. I don't want 25-minute sets when we've got, 3 9-minute songs in a set. That just it's not doable. Even that runs over. So it's like.
I actually think that I had a conversation with one of our bands in the last week, and it was a full and frank conversation because they are not theatrical, but everything's a production, and they're kind of WWE inspired with the entertainment side. So we had this discussion.
Okay.
And it made me think about, for you, see with you guys, I actually think you guys, the whole online thing, like I can just imagine you in somewhere like KK Steel Mill, and it's all videoed and it's all put out live and it's an experience, and you're selling the DVD or whatever the hell you sell nowadays, and I kind of think that is the thing that I think would go, it's perfect for you, whereas maybe sometimes unless you're at that stage where you're getting the really big venues, etc., I think that's the step I would put you forward for, rather than trying to just play games.
Well, you've just kind of predicted, you've predicted our next release. We are actually going to be shooting a live DVD in November, and we're going to have 6 backing singers, extra instrumentation. We've already got this planned, because I agree. I want to be able to show people a show that we've done, so we can kind of, leverage ourselves onto bigger things like that, where we can go, this is the kind of thing we can do. We should be doing tours at this level because this is the kind of professionalism we can bring. And it's like, but you can't, the problem is, and it's like, I've seen bands that, sound like Nightwish playing to 30 people, and you can't marry the gravitas of that music to where it's being played. And I feel the same for TI. It's like, it's not that you think you're above pubs, it's that you're writing for a different kind of setting. You're writing for the theatre. Just like the way, someone would write a play, they're not going to do it down there local in a pub because that wouldn't go down well. And it's the same for certain bands, I think, that are aiming to play those theatres and those bigger stages. And they've already got the production in mind. They're already there mentally, but because they haven't got the audience or the leverage to get there, it's kind of hard to make that jump and present it in a small way. So with Ward 16, like you say, a band like them, they come out with a full production and it's so theatrical, and they have all the props and the chainsaws and it's this great visual spectacle. It's hard to sell that in a little venue. So for them to actually do that is really impressive. So, but I'm struggling with Twisted Illusion to do the same thing in small venues, because you're trying to present something that's, a trilogy, a big prog rock epic. It's like, it needs the gravitas visually as well. And it's hard to do that in your local boozer,
No, it makes perfect sense. Going on to another subject, which I know we've brushed upon already tonight, and obviously I follow you on social media quite a bit. Is it a love-hate thing, or do you think it has its challenges?
I don't really like social media at all. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, I think the internet's great and it's got some great points, but I hate it. It's like I'm not torn about it. I hate social media. I don't like it. I don't want to be on it. I prefer not to be, but it is unfortunately a massive, massive part of marketing and promotion and the business side. And you need to exist on these platforms to, well, because I actually trialed it. I went off social media completely for 5 months in 2019. I deleted Facebook, everything. And my merch sales went from this to a complete nosedive. And
Seriously.
it was just, I couldn't believe the impact it had. And we tried everything. We tried other things. We tried driving it through different sources, mailing lists. We tried different ways of marketing the releases, and nothing was as effective as my profile being on social media every day, engaging with people, and actually telling the story through me and my profile. And it sounds really kind of, kind of self-adulating and really like, oh, I'm the reason it's successful. I'm the reason it's not. It's that it's my music. I've got to be there. I can't do it through a proxy or do it through someone else and say, oh, Matt says this, and it doesn't work that way. If I want to sell myself, I've got to be the one to do it.
And I think that's
So
I think that's one of the reasons why your fan base, the TI fan base, is so supportive. It's because I'm quite sure there must be times when somebody says something bad about you or says something to annoy you and you would just let it go. But I believe that you actually sometimes play to the crowd because you know damn fine that your supporters are expecting you to do it. And if you didn't...
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is that right? Yeah, you do.
Well, yeah. I feel it is because... Yeah, you might feel like I'm rabble rousing sometimes, or you might feel it's like I'm pandering to, people. But it's that I share everything. I don't share just the positives. A lot of bands do that. They'll have this like PR image that's squeaky clean, and it's you only say your achievements, you only say everything good. It's like bollocks. No, some people dislike me. Some people love me. Some people think I'm better than Freddie Mercury. Some people think I'm worse than a piece of shit. Like there's a middle ground here. And in order to see that middle ground, you've got to have perspectives of both sides. Matt's a dick. Matt's amazing. There's something in the middle there. And that's where the TI fan base is for me. They're the sanity amongst all the fucking horse shit. Amongst the rave reviews that are bordering on sycophantic, but amazing and lovely, to the ones that slag me off and don't get it. My fan base gets it straight away. So, it's that middle ground of just knowing that you're doing something like that with a wink in your eye and just go, yeah. And we're all in it together kind of thing. And that sharing of the idea of the songs and the meanings is shared amongst the fans. So they feel attacked if, someone doesn't get a particular meaning to a song.
I saw that one. You'd win. I'm not going to say what it was about, but you had one big spat end of last year and it was very visible. And when you were kind of persona non grata, there must have been 100 people took up the fight on your behalf. It was really quite funny.
Yeah, exactly.
Not funny, but it was quite. It was interesting for me because it was like, and then all of a sudden, and I'll be honest with you. I was having a conversation with some people recently who are promoters in their own right, and they were talking to me, and we're working together on a couple of things. And they said to me, what you got planned this year? And I says, oh, funny enough, I was just talking to Matt. And they went, who's Matt? I said, for TI. I said, I'm going to be doing a show with them. Oh, we fucking wouldn't deal with him. I says, why?
Exactly.
And they said, well, he's a dickhead. I says, did you watch that interview I did with him? No, we wouldn't watch it because it was him. I went, exactly. Have you ever met him? No. Have you ever listened to him? I says, he's fucking, I'm not just saying that because you sat there.
So how have they come to an opinion of me?
Well, that's
Matt, this is the same thing that I've always said. Like, you know what I mean? You was discussing it before, where you said you had those 2 bad gigs that were publicly well known. I'll guarantee that half of those, at least half, even more, didn't even attend that gig.
Yeah. Oh, they absolutely didn't.
You know what I
There was
mean?
a bunch of
And
people the next
he
day,
was,
like, and I'm like, where were you?
yeah, and that's
There was
it's
100
social.
people. There was 100 people there, and 45,000 have since claimed they were
Yeah,
there.
but it's like
Yeah,
the thing is, it's like, and you know, you feel bad sometimes because the artists of today have got to live their life in their open all the time, and we're not perfect. We're human beings. We have
yeah.
shit days sometimes, and we kick off with people, and we have bad moments, and it's like shit happens. I'm not perfect, but I don't fucking pretend to be either. I admit, I'm like, yeah, I was a dick. I was a dick on that situation. Yeah, I was dick. But you know what? I was fucking brilliant on this point. You know that point where I fucking give 500 quid to charity instead of myself? Yeah, that was good. Why don't you fucking post about that instead of bitching about something I did 2 years ago?
But that is social media, though, mate. He wants something to
Yeah,
be negative about
exactly.
you, unfortunately. And as I say, you've got to find the pros and the cons, unfortunately. And that's, I think you're on the same page.
Absolutely.
We've all lived it, we've all experienced it, and it's one of them where you just need to go, I need to shut away, and you've got to give
Yeah,
yourself time
exactly.
away from social media, just to.
Well, I've got really thick skin. I've got really thick skin about all this. Like, I think you have to be when you're fronting a band, and you're really like kind of. I know I'm abrasive to some people because I'm really blunt as fuck, and I don't kind of dilly dally around things, and that puts some people off. And fair play, whatever. But like, I'm not gonna change how I am to suit someone else's perception of me. I am what I am. I'm not a bad person. I get I get humanized sometimes and have a tantrum just like we all do. It's like it's fine. You know what? Though I'd lend you a tenner if you needed it.
The thing is
I'll
because
be
you're
in
so
touch.
invested in what you do. I mean, the hours that you put in, the hours you put into it, the effort you put into it, it is your whole life. I mean, I see musicians that go, "Oh, music is my life." It fucking is yours, though. You don't have time for literally anything else, do you?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're a robot. You don't even.
No. I just think I'm aware of my own mortality, if anything. I'm like, I kind of, we're all going to die. It's all bullshit. And not take ourselves too seriously. Like, we're all heading for the same end goal. It's like, I just want to leave a bit of a legacy. And I'm not too concerned how big that is or how impactful it is. I just want to leave one, and that's it. And that's all my mission is. And that's why I want this big discography. I just want this, someone to follow the journey when I am gone and realize that I stood for something.
Yeah. And do you know what? I think I would rather, if somebody said to me, would you rather be remembered? Or would you rather have one song that sees through time? In 100 years' time, people still remember that, or 50 years' time, or would you rather have a million quid? I think I'd rather have the fucking song. I think.
Yeah, I would, 100%.
I think it's a no-brainer, really.
Always amazes me when there are musicians that got into music for money. It's like there's a lot more lucrative career paths out there than music. Like, if money's your game, like,
Don't do this.
You can make money in music. I'm not disregarding that. There is lucrative parts of the industry, but if your main focus to getting into music was, I'm going to make a shitload of money, you're a dickhead.
And if you're a guy and you get into it for women, that's an even fucking worse idea because it's the roadies that get there.
See, I'm really cool on that front because I actually met my girlfriend at a gig and she was so blown away with me that she's not left me for 7 years. How good's that?
He was a sound engineer in that gig where he lost his shit.
Wow.
So recently, I believe that you've been obviously mixing. I believe today you posted something about you was mixing for K, was it?
Oh, yeah. That was my first credit.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's pretty nice.
That's quite funny. I thought it was quite ironic when I read it because he's the other guy that I was warned about.
Yeah, Rage. Honestly, Rage Sadler is one of the loveliest people you will ever fucking meet. He's a fucking stellar person. I love him to bits. But he doesn't take any shit off anyone either. He's exactly like me. He just doesn't suffer anyone. And anyone that tries to dick bands over, he's right to their defense. And he's kind of been stung in it by the past because he's like, just like fucking tried to take on major festivals by going, "You're a dick, and here's why." And he's suffered the same sort of thing as me, where like you get the thing of, "Oh, don't work with him, he's a prick," and it's like.
And I've never heard of that. You know, I was told, I read loads of things about him when people told me about him, and he's reached out to me a few times and helped me out. And I gave him an insight into things, and he's a great guy. He's a lovely guy.
He's lovely, honestly. In person, you'll love him. He's absolutely top. I absolutely love him to bits. He's a good friend, and yeah, he let me remix their EP, and we did an alternate mix of the EP. So the EP is like a double EP, the same songs, one mix by the original guy who mixed it, Talon, I think his name is, and then I did a remix, and I added some of my backing vocals and my harmonies and stuff, and yeah, I just did it how I saw it, and I really want to go down that road of producing properly myself. I want to produce TI eventually, so I'm kind of looking for these mixed projects at the moment where I can like kind of cut my teeth on mixing different music that I'm not used to mixing, because you can get like lost in your own music and your own little tricks and knowing how to make yourself sound good. But I think being able to make other people sound good is a much better skill, because you're always like fighting battles with things there.
You've recently got into that, haven't you, Ian? You've spent like the last year really honing your skills now, haven't you, with the mixing and everything?
It's something that I thought, you know what, I'm sat at home for a year. I've got obviously my normal day job and stuff like that. I hate doing the recorded live shows. Obviously everyone's in the bedrooms and stuff like that. So started getting into it. Started just getting the.
I was exactly the same, yeah.
And I just thought, you know what, if it works, it works, and if it works well, we can save a ton of money. And it's just one of them where obviously it's like everything. It's like you know what I mean. I've been playing the guitar for fucking years, but I still learn something new every day.
Exactly.
And it's the same with the recording side, the producing side, and the mixing side. You can sit with someone and
you gotta do it.
You can pick up so much. And you know what? It's one of the nicest things, one of the best things, to play something to a stranger and go, "Oh, that sounds amazing," and you just go,
"Yeah, it really is." Yeah, it's so gratifying.
Yeah, and it's like you don't. It is an ego trip. Music is an ego trip.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's one of them where it's just good to get gratitude of people. And I've always said this, is like, if you want to get honest opinions, ping it out to people. Don't send it to your mum who's going to go, "I love that, that's great." And you go,
well, I have that with CI. There's like a few select people that I know will be brutal as fuck about anything I send them. But when they're like, "This is a great song, Matt," I know I'm onto a winner, because I know that those people won't tell me it's good if they're not responding to it well. So I kind of have like a prog test, I guess, for certain stuff.
But that's good, because they're as invested in TI as you are. So they almost jealously guard it as much as you do. So they're not. I mean, I'm like that with Ian. Ian will send me stuff through for King Voodoo, and I can be brutal, can't I, Ian?
I'd rather you be. Like, you know what I mean? I don't want someone to blow smoke up my ass to find out that I've just spent 500 quid to get absolutely slated by press, festivals, shun you, and everything.
Exactly.
What you do now?
Well, I think you're touching on a point here, which is like where this is why I think Greta Van Fleet have become so fucking big, because for every dickhead that's like, "Oh, Led Zeppelin bullshit, I don't like them," there are 100 fans going, "We fucking love them, you bastard." So like everyone digs in and kind of digs in with their support when it gets, you know, like we touched on before, when people attack a particular band or say negative things about it, it emboldens the fan base and makes it stronger, because they're just so like, "Why do people not get this? I'm getting this emotion from this, and why do those people not get it?" And
the cool
to
thing,
me, that's why Greta Van Fleet have become so like Marmite for everyone.
And the thing is that the people that are slating them are the old boys. It's not, and the people who are supporting them are the young
Exactly.
kids, never actually heard anything like that before. So they've no reference point. I mean,
Exactly.
to be honest with you, I think music is great. I can't bloody listen to him because I think the singer is, I just can't, his voice just grates with me. And it's not because I think he's,
I love his voice. Oh, I love it.
It doesn't sound like Led Zeppelin or that to me. He doesn't sound like Robert Plant. So it's nothing, I just can't stand his voice. It's like a cartoon.
He doesn't, no.
And so that's just me, but I'll tell you what, I'll never knock them because
it is a bit pastiche, but I love it. I do love his voice. It's very kind of see, I hear more of an Ann Wilson vibe mixed with like 70s Geddy Lee than I hear Robert Plant. I really don't hear Robert Plant in him.
No, I
like,
don't.
But and that's coming from me as a singer. Like I understand his voice in the kind of professional context of a singer.
Don't you think
he's a high tenor and Robert Plant was a bloody baritone? It's like
there's no likeness.
They're not even the same range of singer.
Don't you think this is the problem though? Because let's face it, it's down to journalism. And the journalist has come out and gone straight away, you just sound like a Led Zeppelin cover band. And you go, okay, have you read the whole album? Have you heard this about them? Have you read that?
Exactly. There are a couple of songs that I like that.
Don't pigeonhole people and try and say, you sound like Led Zeppelin, you sound like this. Or like you say, they've listened to 15 seconds of a song and went, there you go, sound like Iron Maiden this week. And you're like, well, no, you sound like T.I. You sound like
exactly,
Greta Van Fleet. And this is where it's where we do our part, where we write the music, we produce the music, we try and sell ourselves as the band itself. We'd like to see good journalists follow that route, and I might get slated for this. However, it is a true fact that instead of just listening to it once and then writing a review, listen to it over a week, listen to it over a month, and then give a view and give it a view of like.
I'm so afraid of that. I'm so afraid of that happening with T.I. though, like where there'll be one moment where we do one song and one bloody press article will be like, they sound like this, and then you're just done for. Like, no matter what Greta Van Fleet do now, they're the Zeppelin band, and that's it. Yeah. It doesn't matter what they write. Their third album could sound like fucking anything. It'll sound like anything, and someone will still make the comparison, or people won't even listen to it because like, oh, I've heard it, I know what it is. And I will be distraught if I ever get to that stage with T.I. and people are like, oh yeah, I know what T.I. sound like. Because we have had that to a small degree where it's like, oh, they're a prog band, I'm not interested. It's like, I didn't say we were a prog band, that journalist did. I've never said T.I. was prog. I've used the word context, but I've never said we're a prog band, never said we're a rock band, I've never said we're a metal band. I've never put genre on it, ever. It's other people who do. Like prog metal, people keep saying we're a prog metal band, and I'm like, I don't hear it. There's more rock there, to be honest. But I fuck knows. What do I know? I'm just an idiot with a microphone.
I think the thing is like talking about Greta Van Fleet again, and somebody saying, they're just a Led Zeppelin clone. Hello, have you ever listened to all of Led Zeppelin's albums? Can you remember the width and breadth and how different their songs sounded like? It's such a stupid thing to say, and it's like a band I like some of the stuff.
Compare Kashmir to Communication Breakdown.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and another band that's a bit like that is Ghost. You know, some people just don't get some of the songs. I'm like, that's brilliant.
I loved Prequel. That album was amazing. Prequel was just wow. What a record.
But there again, I'll be honest. John, wait a minute, because this is an interesting one. Like, because I've been lucky enough to see Ghost, and I'll be honest, didn't do anything for me.
Yeah,
but and I say this out loud, like, you know what I mean, because I think one of the interesting things about music is I still went to the show, still went to see them because I wanted to see what the fuss was about. Yeah. However,
of course,
I can safely say, like, you know what I mean, it's not my kind. I didn't get it.
Yeah.
But they were good at what they did. And
the thing is,
the music that you've got to support.
The thing is, like, I don't have a strong opinion about a band I haven't give the time of day to. Like, if I haven't give the band the time of day, like, I've not listened to a couple of records, I've not seen them live, I don't have a strong opinion. The only bands I'm actively like, nah, they're boring as fuck. I don't like them. I don't get the rave. The ones that I'd like, you know, maybe rant about in jest are bands I've seen live or, you know, listen to 2 or 3 albums by. A band like that for me is Gojira. I do not know what the fuck everyone's going on about. I don't hear anything remotely special. I've seen them live twice. I've heard all their albums and I don't give a fuck. Mastodon are the same for me. It just all fucking boring nonsense to me. I don't care. I've heard all the stuff and heard the rave and tried to get into it through how people talk about it. And I'm like, I just don't hear what anyone's hearing. So yeah, and that's the beauty of music. Everyone's like that with different artists, and you know, so I understand it, but like, you know, I guess that's a process we all have to go through. It's just when people dismiss something before they've given it the time of day, before they've seen them live, or before they've done that. Go through that process first, and then have your extreme opinion.
But you know what? One of the other things which it can also affect is by the way you feel. And
yeah.
I listen to a lot of, like, you know, heavy rock and stuff like that. But if I'm having a crappy ass day, like I say, I'll listen to something like early 70s Aerosmith, where I'll, like, you know, I'll pick. It's just something different in the way you're just listening to yourself, like so. And then next minute I'll listen to some other classical stuff and listen to some classical riffs and stuff like that. And then next minute I'll listen to something really, really heavy, like Rammstein, and I'll just turn that up and I'll just crank it out. And it all depends on the mood you feel in, I find, with music. And it's one of the best healers, the best communications, and the best talking points you can ever have in your life.
And that's why Matt was right when he said, if you're a reviewer and you're in a bad fucking mood, don't review anything. Go back to it another time. Don't just review it because if you're in a bad mood, it will taint you. It puts the filters on, and you might just write something that is exactly how you felt at the time, but you could damage a band for a long time or forever. And I think that's the thing, you know.
Especially with this day and age in social media.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people who follow the gospel word of certain people. And you just think, listen to it yourself. Listen to it yourself and make your own.
Yeah, the amount of people that just say other people's opinions, they've never developed them themselves. They just say what the last 10 people saying. It's like, and that's how these bands, you know, that largely aren't doing anything interesting, from my perspective, get really big, because there becomes this culture of you've just, that band's popular in that kind of genre. Of course you like that band. Oh, you like prog metal? You obviously like fucking Tool. It's like, I don't. I love some prog metal. I don't think Tool are that good. I prefer Dream Theater. I prefer Devin Townsend. You know what I mean? But like,
Devin's quality.
Devin's just wonderful. If more artists were like Devin, we'd be in a very rich kind of musical atmosphere, I think. If more people took risks like he did, and more people were as daring and as vibrant and as likable, I think the world would be a better place.
He's a lovely fella as well.
Yeah, I've met him a couple of times. He's just so fucking sound. He's just like, he is what you'd expect him to be as well. Just, you know, so chilled and just quirky and weird and just Dev. He's just Dev in it. Massive inspiration to me, Devin Townsend. He's massive. Like, if you had an interview with him, he'd probably beat me on albums. The bastard. It's okay though. I'll try and outdo him eventually.
but that's
he's got like 5 albums coming out soon, hasn't he?
Has he?
I believe so, yeah.
But
he's got a load of stuff coming.
I like artists that will do that, and I like artists that will do, you know, like even if they come out, they do a show or they record something. I'll give you an example. Machine Gun Kelly recently did a country, like a show in country, like half an hour show, and they had like really, like a really top class backing band with him, and everybody's like that doesn't know.
Wow.
Machine Gun Kelly's like, oh, he's going to murder this, he's going to kill it, and he did it so
But to be fair, at that stage though, at that stage of status, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
It's so easy to do that. Like, I couldn't go out and tour with a jazz band.
No.
Even if I wanted to, you know what I mean? The amount of preparation I'd need, money into it, would anyone give a fuck? You know, when you're at that stage of fame and fortune, you can literally just spend 100 grand 1 week that get the greatest musicians in the world, learn a few songs in your fucking set, and everyone will think you're sick. And all you've really done is spent 100 grand on PR for yourself to promote your next album. So it's clever in that way. I guess he's a genius, but you know, it's like I think it's a lot easier when you're at them kind of levels to do those things.
It is, but as somebody that loves country music the way I do, I could tell he knew the reference points. I could tell he understood what he was doing, and I was dreading.
Yeah.
I was dreading what he would do to it. But he got it. He understood it, and
so it was authentic.
Yeah, it was authentic, mate. Yeah. And the musicians that were on the stage with him, where I can't remember whose backing band it was, but it was a serious player, and they wouldn't have gone on stage with him if it was just for a PR stunt. You know what I mean? But the thing is that if you're going if you're going to do it well. You know, that's the thing. No matter what, if Ian Tunkley said he's going to have a side project, he's going to do fucking rap music. As long as he's doing it well, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
So I think, guys, we've been nearly, that's us, we're an hour in now. So we might want to start wrapping things up a bit. Time flies, mate. We'd have been 3 pints in if we'd been in the pub, wouldn't we?
I know.
Maybe more, mate. Maybe more. Well, like I say, do you know what? This year is going to be, it's an interesting one for all of us musicians, everyone in the music industry and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, Matt, obviously I'm going to give you a last shout out, like, you know what I mean? So a couple of things. Obviously, let's say there's going to be a live DVD, hopefully being recorded this year. So keep us informed on that one. And obviously we'll have you back on anytime, mate, because it's a complete pleasure having you on, having a chat with you. And like I say, mate, just keep in touch.
Likewise.
We'll be interested to see, and we'll be able to.
What I'll do next time is I'll get the rest of the band on the chat next time.
Oh, that'd be good.
Yeah, that'd be good.
We'll try and arrange it where the band are here, and then you can ask them what they think of me, and they can all slag me off and stuff. But
we'll let you go and put the kettle on.
Everyone's a real personality into it. Yeah, no, he's gone shithead, isn't it? Fucking Foster's here at gunpoint.
Why couldn't we have done this in Liverpool? Hey.
Here, I've got one thing to say before I go on this subject, and we can't say this because by the time this show goes out, mate, you'll have announced it. But Forza and Fire Promotions are actually promoting a TI gig at the Corporation in Sheffield on the 26th of November. And it's TI, A Joker's Rage.
Hell of a lineup.
A Joker's Rage, Blame the Sacred and Unknown Refuge. That is going to be one serious night of rock in Sheffield.
Hell of a gig, that.
So I'm really looking forward to that one.
I can't wait for it.
That's Christmas sorted out for me.
It's our keyboard player's hometown as well, so it should be a pretty big night for him as well, because we've never done a hometown show with him in the 2 years he's been in the band, so it's going to be good for us. It's basically kind of like a secondary hometown show for us doing Sheffield, so I hope it's a busy one, because we've not gigged, in 2 years like most people, and those shows in November, we're going to be doing a live album from those. We're going to record all 3 shows and then bundle a live album together. And then the Manchester show is going to be the DVD. So, we're going to make the most out of them gigs.
So there you have it, folks. We'd like to thank Matt. You are a legend, as I say. It's always good to catch up with you, mate. And like I say, good luck with the house move.
Yeah.
I'm sure I know what you've been through. Last year I had the same, the house move of hell.
It's relentless.
Sure it's painful, mate. But like I say, get cracking on with that studio as soon as you move in, and we'll be in touch.
Oh, absolutely,
mate. So, John, what can I say, mate? Over to you.
Well, I would like to say before we go that if you heard this before, you heard Matt saying that he is looking to work with other bands. So, Matt, what we'll do is if there's a link that you want to give us later, we'll put that down below. So anybody that's interested in talking to Matt about maybe doing some mixing engineering with you.
Very cheap as well, I might add. It's not that I'm devaluing myself, but I am telling you now, I am learning how to do something, so it is not going to be a grade A professional result, but
Although I had my 20% introducing them. But yeah, so
give me a shout if you want cheap mixing.
Yeah, we'll put the links down below, mate. Email address, whatever you want them to contact you on. So that's cool.
Yeah,
so until next time, you know what to do. Hit that cow bell and subscribe.